Just want you to know that you'll need, of course, your backpack. You'll need your bag of materials. So make sure. Is anybody missing their bag? Miss Barbara's missing hers. Make sure it's your bag. Look in it. Make sure you didn't grab somebody else's bag. Anybody have an extra bag somewhere? They don't know who's it. Look around. One of our workers is missing theirs. They set it down. Maybe you inadvertently picked up another bag. If you haven't registered, you can go to the registration table and do that. Make sure you get your name lanyard, your backpack, and your shirts. Please, everyone will need to wear their name lanyard. Once again, if you've not already subscribed to our messenger system, you need to type in 810. Don't download the app. Download Remind. So everybody go to their app, because the texting feature isn't working, so you'll need the app. Go to your app store. Everybody go to your app store, Google, Android, Apple. Go to your app store and download Remind. It's a blue app, Remind. And that will be the app that you need to use. That's how we communicate with you. Okay. So go ahead and download the app. Everybody will need to do this, because if you don't do this, you will not get our updates and messages. So download the app. Yes, that's exactly what it says.
It's a blue box with a white heart.
Yes. Okay. And you'll need to, what's the number? 8? Okay, come back here and say that. Okay, hang on. So what's the number?
The code. Once you download the app, you're going to join the class, and join the class code is AMC 2025OH.
AMC.
Well, it should already have the app, okay. But AMC 2025OH.
All lowercase. AMC 2025OH. That's AMC 2025OH. And that will get you all the updated messages. That's how we'll communicate throughout the week. We'll remind you again tomorrow. So if you've not done that again, download that app, Remind app, AMC 2025OH. Yes, remember the book bags are for the door knockers. If you're going to go out and knock doors, you need a book bag. If you are not going out to knock doors, you do not need a book bag. And so we will have those available this week, because we know that at times members or visitors come in for a day or two. If you're just going to write cards, that's all you're going to do. You don't need a book bag. So these materials, although that you're not being charged for it, that does not mean they're not being purchased by outside donors, and they are. And there are people donating. We want to be good stewards of our materials. And so those bags are for people who will go and knock doors. Does everybody have their bag? Anybody missing a bag? I know Miss Barbara was missing her bag. We're still trying to locate it. Okay. Yes. You sign as a student?
You can, it don't matter.
If you need any help on the app, see Austin. He'll be glad to help you with that. It's exciting to see so many this afternoon. All right. All right, let's get started. How many of you have been door knocking before? Raise your hand. Been door knocking. All right. We got some experienced door knockers. When you're door knocking, what's the biggest challenge? What's the biggest challenge to getting a church to knock doors? What would you consider the biggest obstacle? So you go back to your home church, you want to go out and knock doors. What's the biggest challenge to getting the membership to knock doors? Someone tell me. Rejection. All right, I think that's top on the list, right? So people are afraid of rejection. They're afraid it won't work. And so if they don't think it works, they think that the people are going to reject it, they don't want to do it. I think another one would be they don't know how. You don't know what to say. It's awkward. And so you're meeting strangers, people that you really don't know anything about them. So there's a fear factor. There's a rejection factor. All right, so in most door knocking works, when a church goes out and knocks doors, what is the goal? Like, what are they trying to achieve? So when you go out, your church goes out, and when do people knock doors? Normally when there's a what? There's an event, like a gospel meeting. So you're going to print the flyer, you're going to knock on the door, and you're going to invite them to a meeting. And we're going to go down, and we're going to try to canvass a subdivision and get, 500 flyers, 1,000 flyers. So at the end of the effort, you're going to go back to your church. You're going to be waiting for people to come. And so you've handed out thousands of flyers. How many people come? Maybe. That would be a great number. And so would one of the obstacles to door knocking be success? We don't see success. Because we don't see success, we don't want to knock doors because it's a lot of effort for very little return on your investment. All right, so we have rejection, fear, and how about failure? We don't see success. Now you put all that together, and then you can understand why so many people don't want to knock doors. All right, we're going to deal with all three of those. And what we're going to do is look at it for the eyes of Christ, because there's never been a better evangelist than Jesus. Did Jesus knock doors? Did Jesus teach us how to knock doors? In Matthew 10 and 16, which is considered the limited commission, this is Jesus meeting with his disciples, and he's sending them out in a limited focus, not the Great Commission to all the world. The limited commission, this is just to the Jewish people. And Jesus says, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. I would say that stands today. We're sheep going into the midst of wolves. But then he says something else. He says, be ye therefore as wise as serpents and subtle as doves. What does that mean? Be as wise as serpents. So is Jesus telling us to be strategic? The answer is yes. Is he telling you just go out there and do is the best strategy for door knocking to give people, 50 flyers a piece and say good luck? Go out there and invite people to the gospel meeting. Let's see what happens. In fact, let's go back to our original question. I asked, how many of you have been door knocking? How many of you have been to training? How many of us have been to a training class that teaches how to knock doors, what to say, what not to say, where to stand, where not to stand, what's the purpose, what's the focus? So is it possible that one of the reasons we fail or we struggle in door knocking is because we don't know how to do it, because no one's trained us? I was talking to David Shannon several years ago, and we had a conversation on evangelism, and he proposed something I'd really never given thought. And the proposal he made, he said, Rob, is it possible that when we send members of the church out to knock doors, that we are sending them on a mission impossible? I said, well, what do you mean? The gospel's not impossible. He said, no. He said, think about what you're asking. So when you ask brethren to go out and knock doors, what do we want them to do? We want them to invite them to come to the gospel meeting. They're not coming. They don't know you. Why would they come? We're asking them to set up Bible studies. Why would they want to study with you? They don't know you. There's no reason for them to study with you. He said, we send them out to, get some baptisms. Why would they allow you to baptize them? They've never met you before. We send them out to invite them to church. Why would they go to your church? They have for all their concern, you could be a stalker. You could be, who knows who you are. So we're sending members on what we might consider mission impossible. Let me put it in other terms. We're asking members of the church to throw a Hail Mary, and most of us are not qualified to do that. In fact, I would suggest that almost all of us are unqualified. So if you're going to go out into the football field and say you're first, we're going to ask you to throw the football 60 yards down the field and, in some last minute attempt to win the game, there's almost no one qualified to do that. That is a terrible strategy for success. I've talked to schools of preaching. Caleb, where are you at, Caleb Rutherford? Kayla went to the Memphis School of Preaching. I was just there. I teach at Memphis. I teach in 10 of our schools. And all schools of preaching send their students out to knock doors. And I always ask the students, what's your strategy? What do you do? Well, we go out there and we pass out flyers for our gospel meeting and set up Bible studies. And then when I can get real with the students, when they'll tell me the truth, I said, tell me, how successful is it? They'll lower their head, they duck their heads, and they all tell me very little success, very discouraging. Well, you want to know why our preachers don't knock doors? Because it didn't work when they were going to school. I'm just going to suggest it's a terrible way to knock doors. If that is what you're trying to do, then I would probably pack my bags right now and go home. Because I'm going to give a week time. I'm going to make an investment this week into something that we know over the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years does not work. And we're not doing that. So if you came this afternoon thinking that we're going to send you out to set up Bible studies, baptize, invite, get people to, we're not going to do any of that. Because we know it doesn't work. Now, let's go back. David said to me, he says, Rob, he said, why don't we teach our members how to throw a 10-yard pass? Why don't we just teach them to do something that they can actually achieve? And so if we look at door knocking from the standpoint of what defines success? So you go to the door. What does success look like? So if we don't even know what success is, then we certainly are not going to reach it. All right, when you go to work, you know what success looks like, right? When you go to school, you know what success looks like. When you go to basketball practice, you know what success looks like. All right, what does success look like when we're knocking doors? What's the purpose of knocking a door? Why are we there? So be ye therefore as wise as serpents. So have we ever stopped and asked the question, why are we there? What are we trying to achieve? What does success look like? And be as harmless as doves. Do no harm. Do no harm. The Hippocratic oath of a Christian. Do no harm at the door. So let's talk about what that looks like. Take your Bibles. Let's go to Matthew chapter 10. And we're going to break this down. We're going to look at what did Jesus teach? What did he suggest? We're going to go out and we're going to reach people, but how do we do it? So let me begin in Matthew 10. And let's look at what Jesus taught. Jesus provided us a method for going. In other words, Jesus told us how to do it. Matthew chapter 6, verse 7. It's in Matthew 10. There's several accounts of this. We'll go back and forth. And he called unto him the 12, and he began to send first and foremost. Why do we knock doors? Because door knocking is a sending commission. The Great Commission is not a coming commission. The Great Commission means you go. You got to go somewhere. They're not coming. Build it and they will come only works in the movies. Brethren, they're not coming. I've been to Roanoke. They're hosting AMC next year. Beautiful building. Absolutely beautiful church building. If a building could bring people, your building would bring them. It doesn't work. You can spend millions of dollars. It doesn't work. I don't know how many churches, well, if we just remodeled the auditorium, and I'm not against remodeling. If we just had a better windows, if we had a more up-to-date look and appeal, surely we would grow. Build it and they will come is not working. The Great Commission doesn't say, come on in and look at our church building. The Great Commission says, go on out. It's a sending commission. And when Jesus wanted to reach the lost, he sent people. And so we have to understand and begin with the premise, we've got to go to them, they're not coming to us. All right, we're going to have to go meet them where they're at. Wherever it is that they are in life is where we have to go if we're going to be successful. So he calls us 12 and he sends them. So we're sending. That's where we're going to start. The method is a sending method. We must send the people to the people. Our people to the people in our community. Then he said this, 2 by 2. Well, there's no reason for me to reinvent the wheel. I mean, if that's what Jesus says is best, then why aren't we doing that? And so we're not going to send you alone. One of the fears is, well, you're going to send me out there and I'm not going to know what to say. We're not going to do that. We're going to pair you with individuals. We're going to give you training. We're not going to say, get out there, sink or swim. Let's just see how it works. No, we're going to use the biblical model and we're going to send you together. We're going to try to pair you with those who have experience in door knocking to the best of our abilities. So if you're timid, you're a little afraid, you've never done this before, we're going to go ahead and pair you up with individuals who have done it, who have experience doing it. And so we're going to make sure that everybody stays kind of in a sense within a comfortable range. And we're going to practice the biblical text. Proverbs 11 and 14. Where is no counsel, the people fail. But in the multitude of counsels, there's safety. So there are several aspects to sending that we want to consider. One is we understand we're sheep going into the midst of wolves. And so there's always safety in numbers. Here's one of our rules. We never go alone. You do not go alone. You do not separate. You do not go into a house alone. We don't mind you going into houses, but you're not going alone. And so we ask you to respect the rules. It's a biblical rule. It's a biblical example. And it is what the eldership here supports and what we ask you to do in this campaign. And we don't need anyone to be a hero. We don't need anybody to say, well, I've done this before. I'm good. I'm better alone. If you want to go alone, go do your own campaign. Okay, in this campaign, we're going together. All right, and because we don't always know the people on the other side of the door, we have no idea the kind of day they've had, who these individuals are, their safety enough. We've never had a problem. One of the reasons we don't have problems is because we respect what Jesus said. We're going to go 2 by 2, and there'll be occasions maybe where you have a child with you. It's somebody maybe that is learning, and you may even have 3. But we're definitely not going alone. So Jesus gave them a method. The method is we go to you. The method is we're going to go in groups, not individuals. Now Jesus gives them a message. Matthew chapter 10, verse 7. And as you go preach, there's a message. So one of the failings of door knocking is we send people out without a message. All right, say, well, give them this flyer. Well, you know what happens to the flyer when you leave? You know what happens to it. They're going to throw it away. There's a message, and that message is important. So we're going to give you a message. Every time we go out, there will be a message for you to utilize. So we have 5 messages we're going to give you. Now, the message Jesus gave in Matthew 10:7 is preach the kingdom. We're going to give you a kingdom message. What is a kingdom message? Well, the kingdom message begins with compassion. It begins with forgiveness. It begins with hope. It begins with love. It begins with grace. It begins with blessedness, the Christian attributes. So we're not going to start our conversation out with a confrontational message like, well, do you believe most people are going to heaven or just a few? Now, that's not a good way to start. Now, it's not a sin to do it. I've done this before. But to engage them in some kind of doctrinal discourse where you're trying to figure out kind of, where they are in their belief system is not comfortable for them. It's not comfortable for you. So when we engage our community, we're going to engage them with the message of the kingdom. But the message we're going to begin with, the kingdom message, is a message of hope. It's a message of caring. It's a message of compassion. One of the tools we're going to use are called compassion cards. We're going to ask them, do you know anyone that might benefit from cards? Is there anybody in your family that maybe is struggling? And our church would send cards just to give a smile to their face, just to lift their spirits, just to help them have a better day. And so we're going to begin with that message. It's a great message. People love that message. So we're going with hope. We're going there to establish a connection, humanity. The book of John presents Jesus as God in the flesh, as a God who cares, a God who feels. And if you go up to somebody's house and they don't believe that you care about them, then why would they care about what you know? And so we begin with empathy. We begin by letting them know that, hey, we're here to help. We're a church. We want to encourage people. Do you know anyone who we could send a get well card to? Is there somebody in your life right now that's lost a loved one and we could lift their spirits? We're a church in your local community. We care about the community. We just sometimes don't know who's struggling. Do you know someone who's struggling? I didn't ask them, are you struggling? No, that's too personal. No, they may respond and say, I'm struggling. What are you struggling with? Well, I lost my job last week, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I've got bills coming, and I tell you what, we'll be praying for you. We'll send you some cards. Could we send you some cards, some prayerful cards? Well, that would be great. I can tell you that when you engage people with a message of hope and care, the response they give you is far different than if you engage them and say, hey, tell me about your salvation. But why would they tell you? They don't even know who you are. I'm not suggesting it's a sin. I know there are methods where we go to the door, we say, well, share with me your salvation experience. And they may share it, and then you can talk about it. I'm not suggesting that that's a sin. I'm just suggesting that perhaps it's better to start with compassion. How did Jesus begin the conversation in John 4? Hey, you got some water for me? Would you give me some water? He related on a very human level. Who doesn't relate with water? And so I notice that Jesus, when he meets people, he's able to humanize. He's able to feel. He's able to connect with people on a very human level. And so we don't start with a conversation about baptism. We don't start with a conversation about the church. We start with a conversation about love. And so we're going to do a lot of card writing. And so maybe some of you are here and you're here because you want to participate in card writing. You're not physically able to go out as either a driver or helper but you said I can write a card and we need your help. We're going to send out not 10 cards, not hundreds, we're going to send out thousands of cards. And we know from experience that if you send these cards to people in the community that are struggling and prodigals that have fallen away, that think that the church has forgotten them, that no one cares, we know that you're going to get results from this. And so there's going to be a card room. It's going to be in your old fellowship hall. And we've got everything set up. And it's a very important place because that's where love is going to flow. And we can't do it without your help. So we're going to ask members of this church to text widows and widowers. And we're going to ask you to send out emails. If you can send out emails to the church, Tim, and let them know, hey, we need you here at 3:30 because we're going to write cards. We're going to do it every day. And Kyle Road is going to need that. And that's important because cards mean a lot to people. I'll take your questions at the end. If you can just hold them, I'll take them at the end. And so we're going to show them. And that reminds me, if you got questions, write them down because we're going to do a Q&A at the very end. And so the cards are strategic, very important. Your elders have given us names of members who've fallen away, and we're going to love them back. And we find that we get about a 30 to 70% range in restorations when you do this. And so this is a very important part of evangelism, not just going after the people who've never obeyed the gospel, but what about those who've fallen away? So we're going to use house to house, heart to heart. You've been sending the magazine into communities for years. Well, let's go and visit those people and let's ask them what they think about it. Let's ask them if they recognize it. Let's ask them if they know about the church that's been, let them know that, hey, we're just following up. Just get some feedback. Do you enjoy receiving it? Have you read any of the articles? What are we looking for? Seekers. We're looking for people who say, yeah, I love getting, well, what do you enjoy? Give me a topic that you've enjoyed reading. So we're going to use house to house, heart to heart. We're going to send it and we're going to use it. We're going to go to the places that you have been sending it. So these are places that are going to be familiar with it. So each day when we send you, we're going to give you a strategy. Today, the strategy is not house to house. It's not even, today the strategy is prayer. We're going to talk a lot about prayer. People love prayer. So if I knocked on a door and I said, our church is trying to reach into the community and we want to pray for people that are struggling. Do you know anyone that needs prayer? Look at them, smile. Look at them. Just look at them. Think about people in their life that may be hurting and they need someone to pray for them. A parent, family member, maybe a coworker, maybe a neighbor. And they just need someone to pray. I can tell you that right there is probably the easiest one to use. Because I went to the house of an atheist one day and knocked on his door. He said, well, I don't believe in God. I said, okay. I said, well, we're just praying for people. I said, you don't have to believe in God to allow us to pray. I said, is there anybody you would like us to pray for? He said, would you pray for me? And I said, of course. And, I've never found anyone that didn't like prayer. And so this is something, we're going to talk a lot more about that here in a few minutes, but that's one of the strategies. We're just going to ask people, can we pray? So go to our next one. This is just examples of people praying at the door. So yes, you may need to pray at the door. And when you do that, of course, we're going to get that contact information. We're going to come back to that because that's important. That's the whole reason we're there. And then we're going to add community services. So maybe there's something they need. A ramp may be built or mailbox that needs fixed, or a lawn that needs mowed, or a house to be cleaned, or maybe some mechanical issue with their vehicle, or maybe it's a technology issue, but there's something they need. Maybe they got a down limb and they don't have the physical ability to fix it. So we're going to offer community service. Maybe they need some food. Maybe they need some help with basic living necessities. So we're going to give a sheet. We're going to train you how to use it. And we're going to go to areas where we know people need help. And we're going to offer help. What can we do to serve you? We're going to be servants. Remember, Jesus did not come to minister, but to be to be ministered to, but to minister to others. He came to serve. And that's what we're going to do. So that's one of the strategies. Another one, and this is examples of people that are fixing various objects. And, I know that we'll experience some of this ourselves as we go from house to house. So another one's called new movers. So here are individuals who've recently moved into the community. They're unchurched. They don't have a church home. And we're going to write to their door. And we're going to say, hey, we're local church in your area, and we're your neighbors, and we're going to bring a gift. In fact, let me give you a picture of it. And we would like to return, we'd like to welcome you to the community, return a gift. We'd like you to know that we're glad you're here. And so by giving a gift, by providing this open opportunity, don't be surprised if they give you a very kind reception. Say, thank you for coming. That's very generous of you to show up. And so new movers, very effective in reaching cold contacts. And these are cold contacts. Hot contacts sit in your pews. Warm contacts are referrals from the church membership. Cold contacts are people you have no idea who they are. So if you show up with a gift and welcome them to the community, you're immediately going to create a sense of warmth. And so seldom in our work do you have someone slam the door and cuss you. And why would they do that? You're there with kindness. You're there to offer them something, that is welcoming and warm. And so those are some strategies we're going to use. Let's look at Jesus provide not only a method, but he also provided materials. Jesus told his disciples, there are some things you need to take with you. In fact, in Mark 6, 8, and 9, he commanded that they should take nothing for their journey save a staff, but he said shod with sandals. So he said there's some things you need to take. Don't take too much, but here's some things you need to take. So when we go out, we're going to make sure we don't have too much. Now, having too much is a distraction. I remember that when I was younger and I'd go out door knocking, I'd have a clipboard. I'd have all this material on me. I'd just be full of stuff, just waiting, videos to give them, books to give them. I had all these resources, and I would knock on the door, and they'd look at you. You have all this stuff in your hand, like, why are you here? What are you trying to sell me? And that's not what we're going to do. We're just going to take exactly what we need. So we're going to be prepared. And so every time we send you out, we're going to give you just the basics, just what you need. So if we're going to new movers, you're going to have a new mover basket. If we're going to pray, you just need to have a heart. You just need to care, right? If we're going with house to house, heart to heart, we have one magazine in our hand. What we're going to encourage you to do is not to be overloaded with stuff that makes it awkward. So be prepared. We'll make sure you have what you need. Maybe it's just a simple gift card. Maybe it's an invitation card. Maybe it's a contact card you have just in case they become a contact. Maybe it's a door hanger, but we're not going to be over-prepared. Jesus said in Matthew 10 and 10, provide neither script for your journey, neither two coats. One is fine, but not two. Why does he say that? Just bring the necessities. Right? Don't burden yourself. Don't be a burden to your own self. Neither shoes nor staff. So you don't need extra shoes. You don't need extra staff. One is just fine, he says. So I find it interesting as he was preparing his disciples, he gets down to exactly, here's what you need, here's what you don't need. So if you're going to train people to go out into the community, let's do the same. Let's make sure our brethren know what they need to have and what they should bring, what they shouldn't bring. Don't be over-prepared, because you'll do more harm than good. All right, Jesus gave them a manner. What do you say in Matthew 10 and 12? And when you come into a house, salute it. In other words, you should be kind. You should be polite. You should extend Christian graces. So we need to learn how to talk to people, how to engage with people. So before we send you out today, we're going to do some mock situations. I'm going to demonstrate what that looks like. So we're not going to be critical. We're going to be kind. We're going to find something that we can say that is going to be friendly. And so you represent the Church of Christ. You represent Jesus. Never forget that. You're not there to have an argument. You're not there to be rude. If they're rude to you, you're not going to be rude back. That is not what we're just going to turn around and we're going to walk away. And so in Acts 2:47, praising God and having the favor of the people. And so we want the people in our communities to have a sense of goodness towards this church. We don't want them to look down upon this church as being overbearing and rude and forceful. We want them to look at this church as being helpful, loving, kind, and gracious. And that will be determined by how we treat people, what we say to them, and even what we don't say. So here are some things, some basics. Assume they see you. So as soon as you walk into their property, assume they see you. Assume there's a camera watching you. Assume there's someone through the blinds looking at you. So be mindful of the flower bed. Don't walk on the flowers. Do not destroy the lawn. Try to use the sidewalk, the driveway. Be respectful of their personal property. Do not destroy something. Make sure that you are there as a guest. They don't know you, and so assume they hear you. So as you're walking down the sidewalk, assume there are listening devices everywhere. So now's not the time to make fun of the cat. Now's not the time to say, look at that old dungy-looking dog. That's the family dog. You've just insulted their family, and so you've closed all the doors. Don't do that. Assume that they're listening. So when you look at their cars, say something nice about the car. If you can't say anything nice, say nothing at all. All right? Say something nice about the house. And they are listening because there's listening devices, and they're listening to the things you say. Don't assume that when you meet them at the door, they weren't watching you and listening to you. So now's not the time to make jokes about their house, the way it smells, how it looks. Look at all those. I mean, this is terrible as you're walking down the sidewalk. I mean, they have garbage everywhere in their yard, and you don't know what's happened. They may have had a loss of a loved one. They may be going through traumatic times. Don't be judgmental. Find common ground. So this is important. When you walk up to a house, you should be looking for things that you have in common. All right? So if they have a nice looking car that you can see that they've been polishing it, maybe it's a Corvette, I'm going to key in on that vet. If they have an insignia, a military insignia, I'm going to key in on that. If they have a flag, I'm going to key in on that. If they have a flower bed neatly kept, I'm going to key in on it. And so some of my first words to that person when they open the door will be based upon what I see. All right, if they have a lot of toys in the yard, I'm going to key in on children. If they got a pet, which is a very good place to start. People love their pets. And so if you talk about the pet, you're immediately going to break through the ice. And so your goal when you go to the door is to start at a place of commonality. It's not to start with what you're there for. I don't start by, hey, would you like me to pray for you? No, that is not where I begin. I begin by saying, hey, that's a great looking dog. What kind of dog is that? What's the dog's name? Just watch them melt like butter. Talking about little Poopsie. And they will give you they'll tell you about Poopsie when Poopsie was born and things Poopsie likes. And they're going to tell you all about Poopsie. They love their animals. So we're going to find common ground when we knock doors. Again, if it's a flag, if it's a military insignia, go the patriotic route. And talk about, how we need patriotism and how we need people to love our country. Whatever it is, look for something that you can connect with. That's important. All right. Jesus gave us a motivation. Matthew 10:13. If the house be worthy, let your peace come upon it. What do we want? We want peace to come upon that house, right? So we're going to bring a message of peace. Romans 10:15. How shall they preach except they be sent? That's what Jesus did. He sent them. This is a sending message. It's a sending mission. Notice how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of what? Peace. Brethren, our whole goal is for peace. We want a spiritual peace with God, and that's our motivation. Our motivation is not a numbers game. It is to help them find peace with God. And so you should be highly motivated to bring peace to your neighbors, peace to your community, and peace to your family. And that's why we're there. Don't forget the purpose of your presence. You're there to spiritually help them find a relationship with God, and that's the only reason we're there. All right, that's the goal, to bring a sense of peace to people. Now, that's what it looks like. And when people find that you have that and they're missing that, they'll talk to you. In fact, they may study with you. And so, although this may not be the goal as you reach that person's house, this may be where you end up at. As they might say, I don't go to church and I need to go to church. Hey, you don't have a church home? No. Would you like to know more about our church? I kind of would. Well, would you have some time now? Sure, y'all come on in. It's not going to be the normal response, but you will meet people who just are looking, and you are there at the right time. And so that peace comes more quickly. Jesus gave them a motivation. Matthew 10:14. Whosoever shall not receive you or hear your words, when you depart, what should you do? Well, you should probably talk bad about them. You should probably what? Kick over their flower pot. No, you should not do any of those things. What's he say? When you depart out of the house or city, shake off the dust of your feet. And so if you are wronged, we're not going to wrong them back. That's called the iron rule, not the golden rule. Okay, we don't practice the iron rule, we practice the golden rule, which is that we're going to leave peacefully, we'll depart, we'll shake the dust off our feet, and we're going to go to the next house. So Jesus had a lot to say about door knocking. He taught his disciples, he trained them. He just didn't send them out and say, good luck. I started this message by asking about the biggest challenges we have. Fear and failure. How do you overcome those? You train your people. You take them to Scripture and you share with them, this is what Jesus taught, and we're going to take those teachings and now we're going to make them very practical. So what would happen if we were to, this afternoon, give you, 15, 20 minutes, give you a method, show you the manner, provide the message, give you the motivation? What would happen if we did that? We would erase fear, because one of the reasons you don't want to go is because you're afraid. You don't know what to say. We're going to teach you what to say. Jesus said in Matthew 10:26, fear them not. Matthew 10:28, fear them not. Matthew 10:31, fear them not. We'll erase fear because now we know what to say, where to go, what not to do, and what to do. I know the greatest fear to me in door knocking was I was being told to go do something that I didn't know what to say. That won't be the case now. And so we'll be able to go meet people and talk to people. And we're going to understand our mission. So what is the mission? What is it that we want this week when we go door to door and house to house? What's the purpose of door knocking? If it's not to get a Bible study, if it's not to get them to come to church, if it's not to invite them to a gospel meeting, if it's not to baptize them, then what's the purpose of door knocking? Does anybody know what it is? There's one thing we want to do. Everybody say it louder. What is it? Contacts. We want contacts. So what does success look like? Success is creating contacts. Why is that? Because contacts are the first point of evangelism. You need people. If you want to have success, you need people. It's the one thing you have to have, and without it, you can't succeed. And so we say, well, why do you know? It's called the 10-yard pass, not the Hail Mary. So we're going to redefine success. We're going to move the goalpost. The goalpost isn't 100 yards away. The goalpost is 10 yards away, and you'll be very capable of achieving success. How do I know that? Because we've done it all over the country. Whether it was in Granbury Street, Texas, Sunday, prayer, 30%. So you went to 10 houses, 10 people answered, 3 people became contacts, 30% success. That's not 3, that's 30. So if I were to tell you that we're going to send you out, you're going to talk to 10 people, and 3 of the 10 people were going to become contacts, maybe you'd be more motivated to be a part of this. What about Monday when we switched it up? What about Tuesday, Wednesday? Look at that number on Thursdays. Anybody see that? Everybody see that Thursday number? What's that number say? Someone tell me what that says. What's your percentage? 8. How about if I said, Tim, you're going to get an 83% success rate? Would you be interested? That's called new movers. 83% of the people that we approach with new movers become a contact. Now that's success. How do you overcome the fear and the failure and the rejection? You have success. The best way to overcome hardship is to succeed. And we're going to teach you how to succeed. And those are our numbers. And I can share those numbers with you all over the country. Here's Collinsville, Troy, Jason Wright. Jason, where are you? Ray? There's an elder from Collinsville. That's the numbers right there. And so Sunday, we had 23%. Monday, we had 21%. And those are percentage all through. Look at Thursday, 66% new movers. Let's go to Cary, North Carolina. Monday, 25%. Tuesday, 26%. Thursday, 70%. Friday, 30%. Total for the week, 28%. Now, Caleb, I didn't ask you this before we began this afternoon. You're at the Memphis School of Preaching. The students go out and they do their door knocking. What's your percentage of success? You don't even register. And it's not because, and I love Memphis. I teach at the school. I go to Southeast Institute of Biblical Studies. I can go to Brown Trail. I can go to Texas School of Preaching. And I go to all these schools. And the level of success is usually about 1% to 2%. Why is that? Could it be because we're asking for way too much at the door? Could it be because we're trying to set up a Bible study with people who don't even know who you are? Why don't we go back to the drawing board and suggest this? Let's start with the 10-yard pass first and make a first down. Then we'll go to the next down. So we're going to start by making contacts. Once we learn how to make contacts, then we can move it down the field. So the purpose of door knocking, let's go to another one here. I thought I had one more, but I don't. The purpose of door knocking is to make a contact. Now we're going to spend just a few minutes and talk about our strategy for today, how we're going to accomplish this. What are we going to say? And I'm going to run you through some mock situations. Then we're going to take Q&A. We're going to let you ask any questions you have. And so we're going to pair you up into teams. Austin's going to do that here momentarily. You'll see some numbers going up and down the right side, your left side, and we're going to pair you up in teams. And the first strategy we're going to use is prayer. We're going to ask the question, do you know anybody that could use some prayers? And so those prayers are so important because that allows to make a contact. And if someone says, yes, my mother, she lives right across the street. She just had surgery. She could certainly use some prayers. Well, you have just hit success because you're going to take your contact card and say, well, what's your mother's name? And we'll make sure to, our cards, if we're going to send cards, and we're going to send cards to that person. So whatever it is, you're going to be able to achieve that goal by creating the contact and bringing that contact back here. We're going to use that QR code. We're going to collect that data, and we're going to begin populating a list for this church of people in your community that need a little bit of help. Now, before we go into the specifics and give examples, what we're going to do is take just a couple of minutes. We're going to have Austin come in here. We're going to put a graphic on the screen that's going to help you kind of know where to sit. Once we get into our positions, our sitting positions, and Austin is able to give you a little bit of instruction as where you're going, I'll go ahead and give you a mock door knock situation, kind of talk about what to say when you get to the door. And then we'll take some Q&A questions. Austin.
All right, so let me kind of go over some things. Usually I hand this stuff out, make people move. These are your door knocking groups. Okay, so find your name. There are pew signs for that. So we're going to give you a couple minutes here in a second. All right, now to give you some instructions. You will sit on that pew. That will be your assigned pew. It's the only time it's okay to have an assigned pew at church. This is when you'll seat. Usually I kind of say, okay, one, I'm tired of getting people moving and stuff. So, and then you can see your streets. Now we go over one more thing. If you don't see your name up there, okay, and you want to door knock, I'm going to ask you to kind of sit in the back rows there, and I will plug you in where needed and use you. Okay. So if you don't see your name, there might be somebody not here or whatever. We will use you. We'll just need an assignment. All right, everybody will get a sheet. It does not look like this. This is my master sheet. But like if you're team 1 and 2, Tony, you're team 1 or something. Tony, you're team 1. I think Jason, you're team 2. All right. So you will be your map will be just the yellow part and the team 1 and 2. Now, this map is very important. This is why. So when you door knock, alright, if you're team 1 and 2, you're going to knock this road only. Don't be like, oh, here's another road. No, I got another team on that road. Okay? And don't be like, oh, I'll help out. Okay? So I put on there, like you can see like the purple team here. You're going to stop right here when you get to Olson Place, but you also need to hit this cul-de-sac. Okay? So the reason I paired two teams together is because so like team 1, Jason, you'll decide which side of the road you want, and you'll knock one side, and Tony, you'll be on the other side. The reason I do that is for safety. When we was at Covington, I started this the first year we did it. Not really thinking about it, it was just easier to do. But now I do it for safety. There was a team that came back, I think I even attacked this team, and she's tired of hearing the story, I tell her every time. But the corresponding team to her did not show up. And it was like 5:30. Well, I usually get a little worried when I don't see people coming back. And so I'm like, hey, Tabitha, where they at? Oh, Zach, I was with you. With Zach. It was our team. Okay, it was her team. Explains a lot. So they were at this house for like an hour and a half just talking to this guy. He's retired military, I think I'm locally, just talking to him, building contact. We encourage that. Okay? Don't feel like you have to go in the house. Okay? If you want to, you can. They all went over that. But take your time. Don't listen. Just because I give you this whole street does not mean you have to knock it off. Okay? You knock at the pace you can go. If you meet somebody like that, you spend the rest of the afternoon talking to them after knocking on 2 doors, we define that as success. Okay? Don't think you got to knock on them. Okay? I usually give you more than you can handle in the afternoon or the morning. The reason for it is I don't want you calling me every 10 minutes saying, hey, I ran out. Okay? That way you can just knock doors. I can work on. I usually, while you're out, I go ahead and get ready for the next day. So I usually play out tomorrow while y'all are out. But if for some reason you run out, okay, you call me. I'll send you a picture of a map, and you can go door knock that area. Okay? Did you go over those soliciting on that?
Not yet. I'm going to.
But that's how this will work. So, the two teams that are paired together, get together before you go out there and say, hey, you follow me there, whatever. I'll start right here on this side of the road, you start right there on that side of the road, just kind of go down together on each side of the road. Any questions over the logistics of this? You'll get paper copies once you get to your designated seats. Okay? So don't worry about that. You'll be able to see it up close and personal. And then obviously there's more than 14 teams. And then there's the rest of them. So we're knocking really close to the building today. This is the church building pen. I mean, we're right in its backyard. And if I'm not mistaken, these are just around the corner. I bet it will shock you. This is not a knock at Alki Road. This is any church. If you go up and say, do you know anything? Go ahead and tell about
Go ahead.
Shannon.
Go ahead.
David Shannon was at Mount Juliet in Nashville. And all they did was go around to like downtown Mount Juliet, or wherever it was, and said, hey, what do you know about the Mount Juliet Church of Christ? They're like, oh, is that church over here? They were confusing it with a different church. And they would say, oh, is that church over here? And it wasn't right. All they would say is,
Card writers, sit in the back as well. Card writers, you sit in the back as well. Quicker.
That way I'm not like,
Yeah, agree.
everybody's moving the same.
I think it's great. You find Dad? Okay, good. Okay, well, it's okay. He does. He's also 80 years old, just about. So that's, yeah. That didn't work. So prayer today, right? Okay, okay. All right, as soon as everybody's able to sit in their assigned teams, we'll go ahead and do some more training. If you're card writers, sit in the back. If you're not assigned in a team, sit in the back, and we'll take care of that momentarily. If everyone else can get in their assigned teams, take your seat as quickly as possible. Yep. All the card writers, hang tight in the back. We'll be utilizing your talents very soon. Appreciate your patience. Sunday's always the most difficult because it's our first door knocking day, but it's going very smoothly. Thank you for cooperating with us. All right. All right, well, Austin is making some final tweaks to the team. If I could have everybody's attention, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to approach the door, things to do and things not to do. So Austin is going to make a few tweaks. So we're going to use prayer as our strategy this afternoon. We're going to go to 5:30. You can push it to 5:30. That gives you at least 2.5 hours. Again, if you start to feel overwhelmed with heat, you feel heat exhaustion, we want you to stop and rest. We do have teams that will be bringing water. So Ms. Barbara is going to be helping with that, and there's a brother they're going to be going around. And so if you need water, all right, all you got to do is text Austin and say, hey, Austin, we need water, and they will come to you and drop off cold bottles of water. You can also take some bottles as you exit and keep them with you. So we want to make sure everybody's hydrated. So do not push yourself beyond your ability. Know your limitations. Make sure you drink a lot. Drink before you get heated, not after you become, you can't catch up is what I'm trying to say. So if you get dehydrated, it's very difficult to catch up. So you want to keep yourself hydrated prior to that point.
Everybody got a door-knocking group that's going out today? Anybody need a door-knocking group? Okay. One last thing, and then I'll be quiet for a few minutes to let y'all talk. Those that are riding cars back here, raise your hand if you're riding cars. Raise them high so I can get you.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get back to our executable file. So we're going to be looking at houses that should be eligible for door knocking. If you see a no soliciting sign, call Austin. That means we missed it. We are not going to ignore neighborhoods. Right, neighborhoods. A neighborhood says, there's a sign that says you cannot solicit in this neighborhood. We believe we've filtered out all of those neighborhoods. If we did not, just call Austin. He'll give you a different place. If you come to a house that says no soliciting, don't solicit. Just pass it on by. Observe the Passover. Just pass over it and go to the next house. Again, you're not, they've chosen that. They said, we don't want any interaction. Respect that. We do not want to be known as the church that causes trouble, because they have something called the internet. It's called Google Reviews, and they will review your church. And what they'll do is say, hey, and they have these community Facebook pages in their community, and they start sending out alerts that there's these people ignoring signs and causing trouble. And it's going to make us, it's going to give us a bad reputation, and they're going to Google review, and it's not going to be good. So please respect those. So if it says mother with small children, do not knock on that door and wake those children up, because you will have an irate mother chase you down the road screaming at you. How do I know that? Just ask me, okay? Because I did not see that sign, and I'm telling you what, she was an upset mother. And so I apologize. I did not see the sign. She was, had children. I woke the children up. So please observe the signs, whatever the sign says. Now, let's go back. Our strategy today is prayer. Where's Tim at? Tim, where are you at? Tim, would you come up here? Could I demonstrate with you? So I'm going to put Tim here on the front pew. Tim is going to be the house, and I'm going to be walking down the road. Tim, you're going to be right there. There's a door, of course. I'm going to have to knock, and I'm going to start over here. And I'm walking down with my partner here, and I see this house. That's the next house to go to. So I'm going to observe the very, very rules or suggestions that I made in the presentation. And I'm going to understand that I'm going to be respectful to their property. They have a sidewalk, so I'm going to walk down that sidewalk. I'm not going to walk in their grass. Some people get very upset when you walk in their manicured lawns. They don't want you messing up their lawns. All right. And I'm going to notice, and as I walk up here, I notice there's a beautiful flower bed. Obviously, they spent a lot of time on it. There's no weeds in it. It's perfectly manicured. Then I see Poopsie through the window, ruff, 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 like that, So I've got already two things in my mind that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about pets. I'm going to talk about flowers. I'm going to engage Tim. And so remember, Tim doesn't know who I am. Now I'm going to have someone with me. And so probably maybe my wife or maybe just a sister, somebody's with me. All right, so we're walking up to the house, and I'm going to come up and I'm going to knock on the door. But then I notice on the door they have this bell ring system, that's a video system. I'm going to ignore that because I know that if I hit that, I'm going to talk to a video camera, and I don't want to do that. Although that may be the only way I can get to them, I'm going to try to bypass it by just knocking on the door. First suggestion is ignore the bell ring cameras, because what they do is it's going to separate you from a conversation, and it's hard to converse through the bell rings. It's just hard. You can do it. It just makes it more difficult. Okay. So he has that. I'm going to bypass it. He's got a screen door. I'm going to open the screen door, knock on it. I'm going to close the screen door, and guess what I'm going to do next? Anybody know? Take a step back, because I'm in his space, and I don't want to be in his space when he opens that door. I want to be stepped back. I want him to clearly see who I am. Clearly see, and of course, if you have a lady in your team, that is probably the most desirable team, as a male-female team. So if it's me, I'm going to put my wife in front of the peephole, in front of the window. I don't want anyone to see me, okay? Because when they see the man, you're just not as they're going to be more available, okay? If there's a female or a child, if there's two men, all right, you're just going to have to overcome that, all right? So it's better if there's, so I'm going to he's going to open the door. Go ahead and open the door, Tim. Tim opens the door, all right? Yes, and he's going to say, hey, my name's Rob, my wife, Nicole. We're from your community here with a local church, and our church is reaching out to meet people, and we're having a prayer service coming up, and we're praying for people. Do you know anyone perhaps in this neighborhood that needs prayer? What mistake did I make? Testing you. That's right. I bypassed everything, and I just walked right into prayer. So I made a mistake, because what I didn't do is make conversation with Tim. I called him, and he's like, whoa, who's this, And so I'm going to try this again. So I'm going to run you through these scenarios. I'm going to knock on the door. No, sorry. Hello. Hey, my name's Rob, my wife, Nicole. Man, you have a beautiful flower bed here. What kind of flowers are those?
My wife takes care of those. I don't know.
Oh, okay. But what I'm going to do is immediately deflect from me to something else. Okay? So I'm going to deflect from me to something else. Or I might say, what kind of dog is that? That's a beautiful dog. I love animals.
Yeah, that's my wife's too.
Okay. I knew you were going to be difficult. Okay. So maybe he says that's a poodle or something. I love poodles. How old's your dog? How long have you had it?
3 years.
3 years. Wow. We have a dog ourselves, had her about 7 years. I don't know what I'd do without her. Oh, by the way, we're from...
You want this one?
Yeah. So, Tim. So we're from the local community. We're working with a church, and we're having a prayer service coming up, and we're just praying for people. Do you happen to know someone, maybe a neighbor or someone you know that needs prayer, that we could add to our list and start praying for them?
My dad.
Really?
Yeah, he's having trouble with his knees.
Man, I hate to hear that. I've had knee surgery myself. Does he live locally? Is he?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I tell you what, if we get his name, and we'll put him on our prayer list, and we'll just, start praying for him, and maybe we'll check back with you and see how he's doing, and if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Okay. And so I've just made a contact. Okay, and so I'm going to say, Tim, now what is his name? He'll say, and I'm going to get Tim's name as well.
His name is Indian Douglas MacArthur Jimmy Ray Happy.
And that's true. That's true, because I had that. So in any case, so I'm going to get that contact information, and I'm saying, well, Tim, I tell you what, we're going to be as a church praying for your dad, and we'll check back with you and see how he's doing a little bit later time. And I'm just kind of letting Tim kind of lead me. Wherever Tim takes me is where I'm going to follow. If Tim asks questions, I'll go ahead and follow up on those to an extent. So if he says, now, what church are you with, or something like that, I said, we're down here. We're in Grove City. We're just down the road. Church has been there a long time, and we're kind of reaching out. We're trying to do a better job getting to know people in the community. And hey, by the way, do you have a church home? Do you go to church anywhere?
Not right him.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, we got a great place. I'll tell you what I'd like to do is leave you a little information about our church. And this tells you a little bit about who we are. And if you have any questions, let us know. But we'll be praying for your dad, and we'll check on him at a later time. Tim, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
All right. Not confrontational. I wasn't pushy. Okay. I didn't try to be overbearing. I just tried to connect with Tim. There are times, okay, when that person will really engage with you. They're lonely, and they're going to be so thankful. And then you begin. So if Tim would have said, if he would have changed, if he would have responded in a different way and said, that's great that you guys are doing that. We need to pray more. I said, I believe that, man. Prayer is a powerful thing. And we start. So then it switches from just being a contact that I made. Okay, now he becomes maybe one of the few. So everybody pull their contact cards out real quick. Get their folder out. You find them right in your folder. I want to share with you kind of what I do. So that everything depends on how Tim responds to me. So if you open up your folder, Caleb, hand me one of those contact cards if you can. You'll see we've got these contact cards right here, all right? And all we're doing, okay, is going to get that information. And now we might need to get 2 contact cards, right? Because it may be Tim and it may be his dad. So I'm going to fill out, I get this question every year. Well, how do you fill out a contact card if they're talking about someone else? You fill out 2 cards, one for Tim, one for his dad. So I'm going to answer that question. Second thing, if Tim would have engaged me, all right, with a little bit more depth, and he'd have started asking questions like, I don't have a church home, and I really need to go to church. I mean, that is a no-brainer right there, okay? That's the few. Hey, Tim, I'll tell you what, we'll bring some information about our church, leave some, and check back with you. And so you're going to make a note on there. It says, hey, doesn't have a church home, was interested in knowing more about the church, and you're going to start making notes. And that's where the notes become very important, because you won't remember this come Tuesday, because you're going to have dozens of these. And we're going to go back and say, now tell me about that guy. Tell me about that Tim Hatfield. And you're not going to remember Tim at all, because you've knocked so many doors. So that's when it's important to take a step back and to fill out the card completely. Remember the asterisk, first name, last name, address, essential information. The phone number becomes essential if there's something that they're asking us to do. Like if they ask for a Bible study, they need a community service, they need us to get back with them, that's when we need that phone number. But if all we're doing is making a contact, I'm not going to necessarily get that phone number. The address, where do you find the address? Where is the address located? The mailbox, right? You don't have to, you should know that. You're at that, but if you can't figure that out, ask for the address. And then if, again, you believe they're part of the few, you're going to circle it. When you come back, right here on this board, we've got a stapler and we got 3x5 index cards right here, okay? We've got pens, and we're going to ask you to put the name, Tim Hatfield. You would write Tim, that's all you got to write, Tim Hatfield. And you're going to staple Tim Hatfield to this board. Now that's the few. We're going to pray for them constantly. So we're going to start praying and praying and praying for Tim. And that's going to be someone we're going to invite to our community meal. Now inside your folders, do y'all see the community meal invites? Go ahead and hand me one of those, Caleb. So this is called the community meal invite. So we're inviting people to the community meal. And that community meal, of course, is going to be on Friday on the back, 7 o'clock, Akira Road Church of Christ. And it's going to be it's going to be barbecue. All right. It's a free meal. So, hey, Tim, by the way, our church is trying to get to know the community, and we're allowed to give these special invite cards out. If you'd like you and your family to come, you're welcome to be our guest Friday. All right. And so we're going to give Tim that invite card and invite him. So no matter what day, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're always inviting people. And so we want to invite the community to come and be a part of our community meal. Now, this is going to be an opportunity for you to meet the community, for you to meet people that live here. So don't forget, no matter what we're doing, we're always inviting people to the community meal. We want to get to know them. We want them to know we care. So today you're using prayer, and I'm going to go through this again. Tim's going to be a little bit more cooperative this time, and so we're going to give another example. So I'm walking down the street, and this time I noticed Tim's got a Corvette, right, sitting in his garage. It's open. You could tell he's been working on it, and you don't have to know anything about cars. Anything. All you got to know is he's got a prized car in there, And if he's got a prize Corvette, guess what he wants to talk about? Anybody? The Corvette. He's going to talk about. I promise you. Now, Tim, I noticed you had those in your office. The cars. Yes. Okay. Yes, I saw those. Okay. So I see that. I said, okay, that's kind of my entrance right there. I'm going to talk about that car. I'm going to come to the door. And I'm going to knock on this. Tim opens it up. Hey, my name's Rob, my wife Nicole, and we were just walking through the neighborhood. That is a beautiful Corvette. I just had to ask you, what year is that?
That's a 1960.
Wow. How long you had it?
I got that in 2002.
2002. You really keep that up nice. I love the clean cars. I love a clean car, polished. I mean, that's just beautiful. My uncle had a Corvette. I love to ride with him, and man, I think that's just gorgeous. Oh, by the way,
You want to go look at it?
yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to look at it. What kind of red is this? There's a special name for it.
That's cherry red.
Cherry red.
Yeah.
Sweet, so sweet. I used to live near Bowling Green. They have a Corvette museum there.
Did you step back from it?
Yes, it's yes, okay. You're so good, Tim. Okay, and and I tell you what, that's just great. Oh, by the way, we're from the community, and our church we're trying to get to know the people in our community. We're trying to do a better job, and we're having a prayer service this week. We're praying for people, and do you know anybody that needs prayer? Maybe they're sick or they've just going through a hard time, and we can just pray for them.
I've got a granddaughter.
Okay.
She's got to have some surgery.
Oh, what kind of surgery?
She had a cleft lip. She's got to have a palate. So,
God bless the doctors that can help.
yeah,
That's just.
she's doing really well.
That's good. That's great. You have a church home? Do you go to?
Yeah, we don't go a lot, but
Okay.
we go to the Methodist church.
Okay. I tell you what, we need more religious people in our country. We really do.
Sure do.
We need more prayer.
Yeah.
Hey, could we pray for her right here? Would that be okay?
Oh, sure.
Okay. What's her name now? What is her name?
Ella.
Ella. And I tell you what, I'm going to write this down because we're going to take her name back to our church and pray for her, and we just we're going to pray everything goes well. And what's your name again? Tim, I'm going to write your name down too because I want to come back and check on her and just kind of see how things are going. Hey, by the way, Tim, this Friday we've got a barbecue. We're just providing a meal to the community. So we're trying to meet people. And hey, be my guest. I want you to join us. Just bring that with you. It's a free meal, and we don't want anything. We just want to meet people, and we're going to be praying at that meal. So we'll pray for your granddaughter too.
All right.
And well, Tim, it's sure nice to meet you. Yeah, nice to meet you. All right, we'll come back and check on you. So that's a pretty typical conversation I have. It's very, it's not offensive, and it's warm, right? And that's, most people are very kind. They want it when they find out you're there to help them. They'll go, give me that back. So okay, and I gotta get away from the Corvette. And so in any case, and no, so he's not. I wouldn't classify it as a few. I just want you to know that's not the few. The few rise to a different level. Tim would have said something like, I don't have a church home, but I need to go to church. Few, right there. That's who we're looking for, okay? So if he said, yeah, I got a church home, and you could tell he wasn't really excited. He just, he was not putting you off. So you got to lose a little bit of common sense, and we're just letting you use your own common sense. If you tell us they're the few, we're going to take it as the few. Well, what we don't want you to do is anytime someone talks to you and smiles, you say, that's the few. Why don't we want that? Does anybody know why we don't want that? Because that makes this church have a lot of work, because they're going to have to go through all of those names. We want to leave Tim and the elders with people we know that they're top priority. They're really searching. They really want. We don't want to leave them a stack of cards like this. Say, okay, go through all those. We're looking for the few, and that means the few that find it. And you'll know it by the conversations you have with them. Now, we'll take a few minutes. Get your questions. We're going to push that to 5:30 on the way back, I think, Austin. And so what are your questions that you have? I know somebody had a question. I can't remember who it was. Somebody raised their hand earlier. I asked you to hold it. Okay. Yes, sir, Brother Jim. Yes, sir. Yes. They're in the bag. They're in there. Yes, sir. So you can definitely give that out. We definitely want you to, if that comes up in conversation and you can give them that information. Going out to eat, yes, I talked about that. Yeah. Sorry. Oh, yeah, yes. And also, when you go out to eat, like tonight after church, everybody should take that card and leave that at their restaurant. You should leave it at the table. So one of the things we're going to be doing is we're going to be trying to invite as many people as possible to church. You have opportunities to do that at the store, going out to eat, wherever it is, your gas station, hand those cards out. Everybody has those in their folders, and we'll talk more about that a little later, but we can begin this evening after church, because we're probably going to go out to eat. Invite your waitress, say, hey, we'd like to invite you to come and come to the church here. So, great question, Jim. Anybody else? Barbara. That's right. Thank you, Barbara. Yeah, you're staying at a hotel? That's right. You want to make sure, the workers, the people that are cleaning the rooms. My wife and I have my family, what we do, if they clean our rooms, okay, we're going to leave them a nice tip and that card. And so if you don't want to tip, don't leave the card. You're insulting them, okay? So same as a waitress. If you're not going to tip them good, don't leave the card and insult the church, all right? And so I'm going to leave a nice tip and put that card there and let them know we appreciate them. Yes, sir, Caleb. That's right. Great. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you asked that. And you're going to have to help me because I forget to cover all of this. But yes, we are looking for local people. And so they said, oh yeah, I've got a grandmother in California. All right, there's not a lot we can do with her. We can say, yeah, we'd be glad to pray for them. We're looking for local people. So Caleb rightly observed, we say in the local community. Do you have somebody locally? Because we can't do a lot with Timbuktu. And so we're not looking, we're not going to send cards to Montana. All right, so you've got to qualify local. Thank you, Caleb. That was a great, great question. Any other questions? Yes, sir. That's exactly what you do. So inside your backpack, there are door hangers. Those door hangers have a QR code on the back side, and they can access a Bible study. There's also information about the Akira Road Church of Christ right on the back side. And so, yes, you would leave it. You'd leave something. Door hanger is a good place to start. Very good. Dad. We're not doing house to house today, so we're not using that today. Not today. No, we're not handing out house to house today. We're going to do that at a later time. Yeah, we're inviting them with the meal card, yes, and we can give an invitation card to the church. We have those cards, those invite cards. Say again? Yes. We don't want to overload them with a lot of stuff. All right. Now, you have in your backpack some Bible study tools. If they're interested in knowing more about the Bible, you can use and leave some of those tools. There's no problem with doing that. That's not the primary reason you're there. So your purpose is not to hand out as many of those as possible. In fact, Caleb, if I can see, I'm going to grab that right there. So here are some door hangers right here, right? And notice on the back there's a label, and that label says if you have a Bible question, contact us, questions at house to house. We get that, we send that to the office, okay? QR code accesses a free video that offers Bible instructions, Bible studies even. So those are tools that you can use. All of that is inside your folder. You'll notice there's a gift card. That gift card is an actual Bible study you can leave people. And so if they're interested and they want to know, it's okay to give it to them. We don't want to overload them. Remember, our primary objective is to make a contact at this point. So how far I go depends on how far they go. All right, I don't want to be pushy. I'm just trying to make a contact. Great question. Is that Marilyn? Yes, ma'am. I was just shortening the demonstration. I would have asked. Because we would have filled out the contact card. It's just demonstrative purposes only. I was just trying to share a conversation. Yes, I would have asked the contact information. I'd have got address. I'd got everything I needed. So it was just time limits. Other questions that you might have? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's right. I did. That was. Yep. I on purpose, I keep everything very general. I don't identify myself as, coming from the Grove City Church of Christ. I said, I'm just some Christians in your community. If they ask, I'm not hiding it. Okay. But I don't want to, if they have a predisposition against, I don't want to begin with that predisposition. So I'm just a local Christian in the area. They're going to eventually figure that out. I want to give them as much time as I can to know that we're friendly, that we are here to sow seeds of kindness. We are sowing seeds. These are gospel seeds that we're sowing. It's seeds of kindness and compassion and grace. These are the seeds we begin with, kind of fertilizing seeds. Yes, ma'am. Yes. 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 Okay. And thank you for asking. So we need everyone. In order for the church in America to grow, this has got to grow. This movement has got to grow. We need more and more churches participating, and it is growing. We have 325, 50 churches enrolled in our school, and it grows because of you. Okay. The only way this grows is because of you. How does that happen? One way is social media. So we want you to take pictures as you're able, take pictures, and then we need you to go to Facebook, upload your pictures, say something about the American Mission Campaign, but put hashtag AMC 2025 Ohio. If you need to write that down, write that down. Hashtag, that's the tic-tac-toe. So for those of you who don't know what a hashtag is, all right, AMC, doesn't matter capital or not, does not matter, 2025 Ohio. Right now, if you went to Facebook and you typed that in, you would see people's posts already there. There are people already posting. So last night, there were 3 posts from yesterday, and it's a group. It's kind of it's like a group that's formed, and it goes viral. So the more of you that do it, the more viral it goes. And by the midweek, it is everywhere on Facebook. But the only way that works is if you do it, you have to help us. And so this is a free way of promoting evangelism in churches of Christ. That's hashtag AMC 2025 Ohio. All right. Does not matter about capitalizations. Thank you, sister. Thank you for doing that. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir. Sure. So our primary purpose today is not to offer community service. But if there's an obvious community service, if something's so obvious or they ask about it, we're not going to say, oh, we're not doing that today. Okay, we would still help them. But that's not the purpose of today. That's not the primary mission. The primary mission is to use prayer. What we want to do is build a toolbox, a tackle box, and we're trying to add lures in there for you guys. So when you go door knocking, you're not going to be single lured people. By Wednesday, you're going to have 4 lures in your tackle box. By Thursday, we're going to say use anyone you want. And that's the purpose of this. We want to arm you with different approaches so you can use the best approach that you think is good for that door. So today we're just going to focus on prayer. This is a simple one. It's so easy. People like prayer. Any other questions or comments? John, anybody? Yes, sir. Yes, oh, yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. The silent partner should have it kind of with them. Yeah, the silent partner. Yeah, just have a contact card. Make sure you have this available. You do not want to come up to the door with a stack of stuff. All right, make sure you keep it simple, keep it easy, and you don't want to overwhelm people. Anything else? All right, Austin.
One last thing that I got. When you go out, keep up with your numbers because we remember those each evening.
Yes.
So
3 categories.
There's tally cards inside your bags. They have, I think, 3 areas. Doors knocked.
Tally cards.
Doors knocked. Yeah, they look like this. Doors are exactly date, which is I think today's what, the
22nd.
Your team number, which is your view number, whoever your leader is, and then you're just going to tally out. You can assign this to somebody in your group leaders, or you can do it leader, don't matter. Just tally it on their door. So if you knock on a door, tally it. If nobody answers, you don't put anything for the rest of the card. Okay? Just knock on the door. You knock on it, these QR codes hanging around the building, mainly at the registration table. You will take your phone, scan it, type in your team number, type in how many doors you knock, how many people you talk to, how many contact cards were collected. So that way I can run the numbers real quick and we can report them this evening in services. That's a good question. Tony asked if you didn't keep up where we stop door knocking. So tomorrow I will give you brand new areas to door knock. Okay? Then tomorrow, say you finish your area, you know where you stopped, you can go back there instead of calling me. It's just easier than me getting all the maps back and trying to re-digging it up. So I just give you new areas every day, and then finish your area for tomorrow. You know where you left off, and you can go back there.
That's right. That's right.
To finish up tomorrow. Okay. Any other questions? No. Wear those on. You wear your t-shirts Wednesday night to services. Wednesday night to services.
We think it's better not to wear the t-shirt because they're going to think you're identified with some agency. So it's better just to wear casual clothes and of course, follow the dress code. Follow the dress code. Keno. That's right. That's right. Do not gang up on people. One person does the talking. The other person stands back as silent partner. That's right. Yes. Yeah. Somebody pulled these out and said, "What is this?" This is not something for door knocking. This is a website with free Bible class materials. It's the largest website in the world. And it's actually run by a member of the Church of Christ, and it's all free Bible class material. We're just asking you can take that back, share that with your elders. It's used by hundreds of thousands of people. And it's run by a member of the church. It's actually my aunt, and her name is Debbie Jackson. And so that's for, it's not for door knocking. That's just for your local church.
You need my cell phone number in case you run out, it's an area that's soliciting, need water, whatever. I'll give you my number real quick. You write it down. 706 537 0742. 706 537 0742. If you need it again, just come see me. If you need something while you're out, let us know. And
Waters for them to pick up as they go out.
Waters in the fellowship hall. Waters in the fellowship.
If you want to get some waters, pick those up in the fellowship hall as you exit. And if you get thirsty, again, just text Austin. We'll send a runner and get you some water. Any other questions? We're going to have a prayer before we leave. Any other questions? Yeah, meal invites are for really good contacts. So if you get a good contact, whether it's at the hotel, the restaurant, or you're knocking doors, keep those in your pocket, and we have plenty. We don't have the extra material up here because you should all be fully packed. Tomorrow when you come in, we will have all the material on the front pew, and you can restock. So you can restock anything you're out of, we'll have it here, but everybody has plenty for the next couple of hours.
If anybody needs a ride, like if you want to get dropped off and pick back up, we have some people that's volunteered to be drivers. Just let me know, and we'll get you in contact with one of those people.
All right. All right, let's have a prayer, and then Tim, would you lead us in prayer? I'll give you the mic here.
Let's bow together. Our precious Father in heaven, we thank you for the day, and we thank you for the way that you watch over us and care for us. And Father, we thank you for this opportunity. We pray that you'll be with us and that you'll help us to be successful in making contacts. Father, we thank you for all that you've done for us. Please continue to bless us in our efforts to serve you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
All right, remember, what's the one goal? What's the one thing we want to do? Contacts. That's right.
All right, so those have been on campaigns. If you haven't been on campaign, maybe you've heard of Latin American Missions and Yes To. My mentor, Spencer Brew, always had one saying before we went door knocking every day. That was, let's go to work. So, let's go to work.
Go to work. That's good. All right. Hey, that wasn't too bad.
Oh, tell me back.
Make sure you're back at 5:30. That's 2 hours, 5:30.